When someone craves you deeply but never contacts you, it's often rooted in emotional resistance. This phenomenon can be perplexing and hurtful, but understanding it through the lens of emotional patterns sheds light on what's truly happening beneath the surface. Emotional resistance arises from a fear of vulnerability, an innate mechanism that protects individuals from the possibility of being hurt, even when their feelings are undeniable. The fear of exposing those emotions can become overpowering, creating a barrier that prevents them from reaching out. This resistance often stems from past experiences that have shaped their perspective on relationships and intimacy. Imagine a person who has been rejected or hurt in the past. That experience leaves an imprint on their psyche, a reminder of the pain that came from allowing themselves to be open. Now, even when they feel a strong connection or desire, that imprint acts as a voice of caution, whispering that reaching out might lead to disappointment or rejection. They may crave your presence, but struggle against the possibility of facing those same emotions again. This internal dialogue can be paralyzing, leaving them stuck in a cycle of longing without action. Another factor that intensifies emotional resistance is insecurity. When someone doesn't feel good enough, their mind can spin narratives that convince them you might not reciprocate their feelings, even if all signs suggest otherwise. This self-doubt magnifies their fear of taking the risk, creating a psychological wall that keeps them from contacting you. It's not that they don't want to, they simply can't reconcile their desire with the perceived risk of rejection. Furthermore, societal conditioning often complicates the matter. Many people, especially men, are taught to mask their emotions or avoid appearing vulnerable. They may believe that expressing their need for connection will be seen as weakness, so they suppress their feelings, hoping the craving will fade on its own. This leads to a silent battle between what they feel and what they think they should do. In some cases, this resistance isn't even fully conscious. People can suppress their desires so effectively that they convince themselves it's better not to act, even when their heart tells a different story. Their mind, programmed to avoid discomfort, creates excuses and justifications for their silence. They might tell themselves they're too busy, that it's not the right time, or that you deserve better, all as a way to shield themselves from facing their fears. It's essential to remember that this emotional resistance is about them, not you. Their hesitance doesn't diminish your worth or value. It reflects the unhealed parts of themselves that they are grappling with. By recognizing this, you can release any feelings of inadequacy or self-blame and instead focus on cultivating your own emotional well-being, the emotion of greater religions. It is not about you, it is about them, and they need it. Ultimately, understanding emotional resistance allows you to approach a situation with compassion. It doesn't mean waiting endlessly for someone to overcome their fears, but it does mean recognizing the humanity in their struggle. When you detach from the need for validation and focus on radiating your own joy and energy, you create the space for authentic connection to flow naturally, whether with them or someone truly aligned with your path. When someone desires you but chooses not to contact you, it often stems from a deep internal conflict. This internal struggle is not about a lack of feeling, but rather an overwhelming clash between their emotional desires and their mental fears. It's as if their heart pulls them in one direction while their mind creates an endless loop of reasons why they shouldn't or can't reach out. This inner turmoil can be invisible to the outside world, but within them, it's a powerful force that dictates their actions, or more accurately, their inaction. At the core of this conflict is fear. Even when someone craves you deeply, they might fear the potential outcomes of acting on their feelings. What if you don't feel the same way? What if reaching out disrupts the delicate balance of their life? These what ifs swirl in their mind, creating a narrative of hesitation and doubt. They weigh the possibilities, often imagining the worst case scenarios, and in doing so, they paralyze themselves. The bitterness and loss of relations in veteranism and failure to build a bigger life for yourself. This fear, whether rooted in rejection, vulnerability, or the unknown, becomes a wall that separates their longing from their actions. Adding to this is the weight of self-worth. When someone doesn't fully believe they deserve the connection they desire, it can lead to an intense inner battle. They may crave your presence, but simultaneously question whether they're good enough for you. Their internal dialogue becomes self-critical, convincing them that they'll fall short of your expectations or that their effort won't be reciprocated. This self-doubt feeds the conflict, making the act of reaching out feel insurmountable. Moreover, the human mind is masterful at rationalizing inaction. They might convince themselves that waiting is the better choice, that timing is wrong, that circumstances need to align, or that you might reach out first. These rationalizations, while comforting in the moment, are often just a way to avoid facing their own fears. They create an illusion of control, allowing them to believe they're making a calculated decision, when in reality they're simply avoiding discomfort. This inner conflict can also be fueled by past experiences. If they've faced heartbreak, betrayal, or rejection before, their mind might replay those memories as a warning. Even if they're deeply drawn to you, the pain of the past creates a protective barrier, convincing them that staying silent is safer than risking another wound. Their longing for you is real, but is buried beneath layers of caution and self-preservation. Understanding this internal struggle doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but it does provide perspective. Their silence isn't necessarily a reflection of how they feel about you, but rather a manifestation of the battles they're fighting within themselves. Recognizing this can help you detach from taking their actions personally and instead focus on your own emotional state. Ultimately, someone trapped in their internal conflict may need to resolve their fears and insecurities before they can truly connect. While you can't force them to act, you can choose to prioritize your own growth and energy. By doing so, you create space for clarity and alignment, allowing authentic connections to flow naturally in your life. Right? When someone craves you but doesn't contact you, their behavior can often be traced back to their attachment style and the communication patterns that stem from it. Attachment styles, which are shaped early in life through interactions with caregivers, play a powerful role in how people navigate relationships. They influence the way someone expresses emotions, handles intimacy, and deals with the fear of rejection or abandonment. Understanding these dynamics can help decode their silence and bring clarity to what's truly unfolding. People with an avoidant attachment style, for instance, tend to suppress their emotional needs and prioritize independence. Even when they feel a deep longing for connection, they may avoid reaching out because they associate closeness with vulnerability and the potential for discomfort. Their natural inclination to self-protect makes them hesitant to act on their feelings, even if those feelings are strong. They might rationalize their silence as a way to maintain control over their emotions, believing that keeping their distance will shield them from pain. This isn't a reflection of how much they care, but rather a defense mechanism rooted in their attachment blueprint. On the other hand, someone with an anxious attachment style might find themselves overwhelmed by their emotions and fears of rejection. This overwhelming internal dialogue can lead to overthinking, causing them to delay or avoid contacting you altogether. They might fear that their vulnerability will be met with indifference, or that their actions could push you away. Ironically, the more they crave you, the more they might retreat into a cycle of uncertainty, doubting whether their feelings are reciprocated and questioning how to express themselves without risking rejection. For some, their communication patterns are shaped by past experiences that taught them to be cautious. If someone has faced a history of negative responses or unpredictable behavior in relationships, they may have learned to tread carefully. This conditioning often results in a reluctance to initiate contact, even when their desire to connect is undeniable. Their silence becomes a form of self-protection, driven by the fear of repeating painful experiences. Another layer to consider is how these attachment styles interact with societal influences. For instance, many people, especially men, are raised in environments that discourage emotional expression, labeling vulnerability as a weakness. This conditioning can exacerbate avoidant tendencies, leading them to suppress their need for connection rather than risk being seen as too emotional or needy. Their silence, then, is less about their feelings for you and more about the internalized pressures that shape their behavior. Ultimately, attachment styles and communication patterns are deeply ingrained, often operating beneath the surface of conscious awareness. While their silence might feel personal, it's often a reflection of the unresolved dynamics they're navigating within themselves. Recognizing this helps shift the focus away from self-blame and toward compassion for both them and yourself. The key takeaway is that you can't force someone to overcome their attachment tendencies or rewrite their communication patterns. What you can do, however, is prioritize your own emotional well-being, radiating self-love and clarity. In doing so, you create an environment where authentic connections can emerge, whether with them or someone whose energy aligns more naturally with yours. When someone craves you but doesn't contact you, societal conditioning and traditional gender roles often play a significant, albeit subtle, role in their silence. These cultural norms shape beliefs about how emotions should be expressed, particularly in romantic relationships, and can create internal barriers that are difficult to overcome. Understanding this aspect of human behavior adds another layer of insight into why someone might hold back, even when their feelings for you are undeniable. From a young age, people are often taught specific roles based on societal expectations. For men, there's frequently an unspoken rule that showing too much emotion or vulnerability equates to weakness. These lessons might not be explicitly stated, but they're woven into countless experiences, from how boys are encouraged to toughen up when they're hurt, to how men in media are often portrayed as stoic and emotionally detached. Political storytelling and activism is a natural exploration of how men in media are often portrayed as stoic and emotionally detached. As a result, many men grow up internalizing the idea that expressing emotions, especially romantic ones, is risky and potentially damaging to their image. This societal pressure creates a fear of being perceived as too needy or overly dependent, even when those fears are baseless. For someone who craves you, desire to reach out can feel like a double-edged sword. On one hand, they want to connect and express their feelings. On the other, they fear losing their perceived sense of control or appearing weak in your eyes. I know this internal conflict often leads to silence, not because their emotions aren't real, but because they're caught between their desire for connection and their need to maintain a facade of emotional strength. Similarly, societal expectations for women can contribute to this dynamic. Many women are conditioned to wait for the other person to make the first move, believing that initiating contact might make them appear desperate or overly eager. This creates a cycle where both parties, influenced by societal norms, hesitate to take the first step, even when the feelings are mutual. In these cases, the silence becomes less about a lack of desire and more about the fear of breaking an ingrained social rule. Beyond traditional gender roles, cultural narratives about relationships also shape how people behave. For instance, the idea that playing hard to get makes someone more desirable can lead individuals to suppress their natural instincts to reach out. They might believe that withholding contact will make them appear more mysterious or valuable, even if it goes against their true emotions. This narrative often backfires, creating unnecessary distance and misunderstanding. This is what Claudia says. Another aspect of societal conditioning is the fear of judgment. In today's world, where digital communication is often scrutinized and analyzed, reaching out can feel like a risky endeavor. The fear of sending the wrong message, being misinterpreted, or facing rejection can paralyze someone, making silence seem like the safer option. This hesitation isn't about a lack of craving, but about the fear of social consequences that have been amplified by societal pressures. Understanding these influences helps reframe the silence you're experiencing. It's not a reflection of your worth or the depth of their feelings. It's a complex interplay of societal norms and personal fears. Recognizing this can bring a sense of clarity and empowerment, allowing you to focus on radiating your own joy and authenticity. When you release the need for validation from their actions, you create the space for connections that align with your energy and values. You create the space for connections that align with your energy and values. When someone craves you deeply but remains silent, there's often an energetic dynamic at play that operates beneath conscious awareness. Joe Dispenza's teachings about energy and attraction offer profound insights into this phenomenon. At the core of these principles is the understanding that we are all energetic beings, constantly emitting frequencies that influence and interact with the world around us. The energy you project can either magnetize someone toward you or create a subtle resistance that pushes them away, even if they're unaware of it. Every thought, emotion, and belief carries vibrational frequency. When someone craves you, their energetic state is often in flux. Desire itself is a powerful force, but if it's entangled with fear, doubt, or insecurity, the energy they emit becomes fragmented. They may want to connect with you, but their mixed signals, strong attraction overshadowed by uncertainty or hesitation, can create an energetic imbalance. This can manifest as their inability to act, leaving them stuck in a state of longing without movement. God gave them a mission. What was the mission? Similarly, your own energy plays a critical role. If you're projecting feelings of neediness, frustration, or attachment to a specific outcome, that energy can subtly affect the dynamic between you. Joe Dispenza teaches that energy doesn't lie. It communicates your internal state even before words or actions come into play. Loving tells us that intelligence is what drives the spirit to interact with the physical. If your focus is on why they aren't contacting you, or if you're holding on to resentment or doubt, that energy can unintentionally create resistance, making it harder for them to bridge the gap. On the other hand, when you shift your energy to a state of joy, self-love, and inner alignment, you become a magnet for authentic connections. This isn't about pretending to be happy or masking your feelings, but rather about genuinely cultivating a sense of wholeness within yourself. When you release attachment to the outcome, whether they contact you or not, you free yourself from the energetic tug of war that often underpins these situations. This shift can create a ripple effect, influencing the dynamic between you and allowing them to feel more at ease in reaching out. It's also important to recognize how the energy of expectation can weigh heavily in such interactions. If they sense that contacting you comes with pressure or the risk of emotional entanglement, it can trigger their fears and insecurities, even if unspoken. By radiating an energy of openness and non-attachment, you communicate that connection with you is a choice rather than an obligation, which can be incredibly freeing for both parties. Additionally, the energetic alignment between two people isn't always in harmony, even if the desire is present. Sometimes the disconnection you feel is a sign that they are not in a place to match your energy. They may need to grow, heal, or confront their own fears before they can engage authentically. This doesn't diminish their craving for you, but reflects the reality that relationships thrive when both individuals are energetically aligned. Ultimately, energy and attraction remind us that the most profound connections begin within. By focusing on cultivating your own state of joy and clarity, you not only transform your internal world, but also influence the external dynamics around you. This allows you to attract relationships that resonate with your highest self, creating space for deep, meaningful connections to unfold naturally. When someone craves you but never reaches out, it's often a signal that attachment to the outcome is holding them and perhaps you back from the natural flow of connection. The more someone fixates on how things should unfold, the more resistance they create within themselves. This resistance can keep them trapped in a cycle of inaction, even when their desire for you is strong. The concept of letting go is crucial here, not just for them, but for you as well, as it opens the door for authentic energy to guide relationships. At its core, letting go doesn't mean giving up or losing interest. It means releasing the emotional grip of expectation. When someone hesitates to contact you despite craving you, they might be overwhelmed by the pressure of potential outcomes. They could fear rejection, overanalyze their feelings, or worry about what the future might hold. This attachment to specific scenarios keeps them in their head instead of acting on their heart's desires. Letting go of these mental constraints is the key to unlocking their natural ability to connect. But that's a journey they must undertake on their own. On your end, holding on tightly to the idea of them contacting you can create an energetic tension that inadvertently contributes to the stalemate. When your energy is focused on waiting, questioning, or wishing for their move, you may be unintentionally signaling lack or desperation. Joe Dispenza's teachings remind us that the energy we radiate attracts what we experience and what we expect. As long as we expect this, it may be harder for us to receive the new or to experience. When you fixated on their silence, you align yourself with that energy of stagnation, which can delay the flow of connection even further. Letting go is about shifting from a state of need to a state of abundance. Instead of anchoring your happiness or self-worth on their actions or lack thereof, you focus on your inner alignment. When you prioritize your own joy, growth, and self-discovery, you naturally elevate your energy. This shift creates a powerful ripple effect as it sends out a signal of confidence and wholeness that others find magnetic. You're no longer waiting for someone to complete or validate you, which paradoxically makes you even more attractive. You've become your own person, you have your own story and your own life, and you have your own individuality.